You know that weird feeling when you step outside and it's like poof, your neighbor magically appears watering the same patch of grass for the third time today. Yeah, that's not just your imagination playing tricks. Sometimes the walls have ears and the hedges have eyes. Neighbors who blur the line between a friendly wave and a full-blown surveillance operation can turn your peaceful home into a place you tiptoe around, like a crime scene. If you've ever caught yourself whispering in your own kitchen just in case someone is listening, congratulations. Your instincts might be trying to save your life. In this video, I'm revealing 5 unmistakable signs that your neighbor isn't just nosy, they're monitoring you. These aren't harmless quirks. They're major red flags that could wreck your peace of mind if you miss them. So, stay close because by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to spot the danger before it parks itself in your driveway. And hey, if you believe your privacy deserves a standing ovation, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We've got a lot more survival wisdom coming your way. Sign 1. They coincidentally appear every time you leave your house. Have you ever stepped outside your home only to notice a certain neighbor coincidentally popping up again and again? It's not just your mind playing tricks on you. Sometimes your instincts are the first line of defense, trying to warn you that something beneath the surface isn't right. I'm not talking about the harmless, casual encounters, the friendly nod when you both grab the mail on a Saturday morning. No, I'm talking about the unsettling pattern, where someone seems almost magnetically drawn to your every movement, where casual turns into calculated, where coincidence begins to feel more like surveillance. Imagine this. A man I once knew, David, a retired firefighter, loved taking evening walks around his block after dinner. Quiet, simple part of his routine. At first, he thought nothing of it when a neighbor from 3 houses down happened to be checking his car every time David strolled past. Maybe it was coincidence, maybe it was nothing. But then, it escalated. No matter what time David chose to walk, early evening, late night, sometimes even in the rain, there that neighbor would be, pretending to organize his garage, sweeping an already clean driveway, or leaning against his car, scrolling aimlessly on his phone. What began as slight unease quickly deepened into something heavier, a sense that his movements weren't just observed, they were anticipated. There's a psychological term for this phenomenon, hypervigilant observation. It's when someone tracks your habits so closely that they can predict your next move before you even make it. And here's where it becomes dangerous, because patterns aren't random. They're built through attention, intention, and often an unhealthy fixation. A neighbor who studies your routine so meticulously is rarely just being curious. They're conditioning themselves to believe your life is part of their territory. The Stoics understood this kind of hidden threat, even if they didn't have security cameras or Wi-Fi networks. They taught that control over your mind, not the outside world, is your greatest protection. Marcus Aurelius warned that disturbance does not come from events themselves, but from our judgments about them. When you feel something is wrong, you must trust that feeling, observe it clearly, but not let fear cloud your judgment. The goal is not to panic. It's to understand and respond with strategy. So how do you protect yourself when coincidence turns to creeping certainty? First, document everything calmly and systematically. Keep a private log, dates, times, what you noticed, what seemed unusual. Trust isn't enough when it comes to personal security. You need evidence. Technology, too, becomes your ally. Install cameras. Check the footage. Small patterns like a neighbor hovering near your home, minutes after you leave, reveal themselves. Over time, these aren't just useful for your peace of mind. They're critical if the situation ever escalates legally. Another tactic, disrupt the predictability. Change your routes. Leave at unusual hours. Park your car differently. See if your neighbor's behavior shifts with you. If they're truly monitoring, You'll notice them adapting unnaturally quickly. This isn't paranoia, it's vigilance. It's understanding that safety isn't just locking your doors at night. It's reading the landscape of your life and seeing who's quietly trying to redraw the map. David eventually confronted the truth of his situation. He didn't lash out or accuse recklessly. Instead, he acted like a true Stoic, calm, rational, and prepared. He shifted his schedule without warning, documented the neighbor's repeated presence, and quietly involved local authorities when the behavior escalated to trespassing onto his lawn late at night. Because he trusted his instincts, remained composed, and took strategic action, he reclaimed his peace without ever descending into fear or rage. The hard truth is this: when you feel repeatedly watched, you probably are. The mind has a way of detecting threats before the conscious mind catches up. Ignoring it is not strength, it's self-betrayal. Real strength is acknowledging the threat, protecting your peace, and moving with quiet, unshakable confidence. Your sanctuary, your home, your mind deserves no less. Sign 2, their technology is focused on you now. The second sign that your neighbor might be watching you is far more insidious, because it doesn't come with footsteps on gravel or a knock on your door. It comes quietly through the very air around you. In today's digital world, surveillance no longer requires clumsy effort. A simple lens pointed in the right direction, a hidden device no bigger than a coin, a router quietly intercepting your signals. That's all it takes to turn your private life into public entertainment for someone with bad intentions. If you've started noticing little things, a neighbor's security camera that somehow captures your front yard, your living room window, your children playing, you must understand, this isn't just laziness, it's not poor installation. It's deliberate. The emotional toll begins subtly at first. A restless sleep, a flicker of irritation you can't explain, a growing reluctance to open your blinds, and then it deepens. Anxiety grows roots. Your own home, once the safest place on earth, becomes an invisible cage. You start doubting yourself, wondering if you're imagining it. But the truth is, your instincts are screaming the warning your rational mind is too polite to accept. Your space is being invaded. Technology has made this kind of intrusion effortless. A neighbor doesn't need to be tech-savvy to become a shadow, haunting your daily existence. A smartphone left recording, a Wi-Fi signal capturing your conversations, smart devices glitching at odd hours. These are not quirks. They are cracks forming in the walls of your peace. And every day you ignore them, those cracks widen. The psychological impact of living under silent observation is corrosive. It eats away at your sense of freedom, of spontaneity, of being able to live without self-consciousness. You stop singing in the kitchen. You hesitate before stepping outside. You measure your laughter, your arguments, your grief. And soon enough, you aren't really living anymore. You're performing, constantly editing yourself for an unseen audience you never agreed to entertain. A Stoic would tell you this: the violation of your privacy is real, but the surrender of your peace is a choice. Marcus Aurelius taught that what stands between you and ruin is not what happens to you, but how you respond to it. Your neighbor's devices may be beyond your control, but the defense of your mind, your safety, and your dignity is entirely in your hands. You must act, not with panic, but with precision. Walk your property as if seeing it for the first time. Look higher, look closer. Cameras can hide in light fixtures, fake birdhouses, even tree branches. Strange Wi-Fi signals that flicker into existence when you're home are not harmless jokes. They could be the first sign of digital intrusion. Battery drains, smart devices activating uncommanded. These are warning flares. Arm yourself with technology, encrypted networks, firewalled systems, cameras of your own, pointed where they belong, guarding, not spying. Take control of your digital gates the way a commander fortifies his city before a siege. But above all, understand this: the greatest victory is not merely surviving under surveillance, it is refusing to allow fear to become your warden. Set your boundaries, physically, digitally, and mentally. And once done, live fully within them, untouched in spirit, no matter who watches from the shadows. Because real freedom isn't the absence of intrusion, it's the refusal to surrender your mind to it. Sign 3. They know private details. They shouldn't. Did you know that the average person's private life can now be reconstructed using less than 5 casual conversations overheard across just a few days? In an age where information is currency, a neighbor who listens too closely isn't just curious. They're quietly building a blueprint of your life. The third sign your neighbor might be watching your every move is when they seem to know far more about you than you ever intended to share. It starts innocently enough. A casual comment about your sister's new job in Phoenix, even though you never mentioned it outside your own 4 walls. Maybe a neighbor congratulates you on the pricey sneakers you ordered online, sneakers you haven't even unboxed yet. It's a slow creep, almost imperceptible at first, but once you recognize it, you can't ignore it. A neighbor noticing a new haircut is one thing. A neighbor knowing you got it at exactly 2:30 p.m. last Tuesday and paid with your Visa card. That's not friendliness, that's surveillance. What's happening behind the scenes is even more disturbing. Psychologically, these neighbors often develop a sense of entitlement over your life, a warped belief that physical proximity grants them access. They rationalize their behavior as concern or casual observation, but the reality is far more calculated. The collection of small, seemingly innocent details about your private life is a subtle form of control. It's how manipulators operate, by silently gathering information that can be used without your consent. The consequences are deeper than discomfort. When someone can predict your schedule, movements, and private decisions without you ever sharing them, your sense of safety begins to erode. You start censoring your conversations, weighing every word, unsure of what's been overheard or catalogued. From a Stoic perspective, the solution is clear. You can't control others, but you can absolutely control the boundaries you set. Marcus Aurelius taught that external events only have power if we give them authority over our minds. If your privacy feels invaded, the response must be measured, not reckless. Begin by testing the situation. Perhaps mention a fictional trip within earshot of your home. If your neighbor later brings it up, you've confirmed your suspicion. It's a simple test, but it's powerfully revealing. Next, strengthen your defenses. Avoid sensitive conversations near open windows. Use white noise machines against thin walls. Be mindful of what you post online. Details like your routine or location may seem harmless, but can be easily exploited. This isn't about paranoia, it's about wisdom. As the Stoics believed, protecting what's yours, your mind, your peace, your private life, is essential. A neighbor who feels entitled to the unseen corners of your life isn't just nosy. They are crossing a line between public civility and private intrusion. And once that line is crossed, reclaiming it requires not fear or outrage, but calm, strategic action to defend your personal sovereignty. And if you found this knowledge helpful, consider subscribing now. Your future self will thank you for choosing preparation over regret. Sign 4. There's physical evidence around your property. The fourth sign that your neighbor is watching your every move is something you can no longer dismiss as imagination. It's something tangible, something you can see, touch, and confirm with your own eyes. This isn't about vague feelings anymore. It's about physical evidence. The unmistakable signs that someone has been too close to your personal space, observing, touching, and gathering information without your knowledge or consent. Imagine this. A man named Richard, living in a quiet suburban neighborhood, had a habit of slightly tilting his welcome mat, an almost subconscious signature of home. But one evening, after returning from a weekend away, he found the mat placed perfectly straight, as if adjusted with meticulous care. He brushed it off at first, telling himself maybe the wind had shifted it. But the next morning, he noticed something else. The potted plant by his front door, which he always faced toward the sun, had been turned to face the street. A few days later, his mailbox, normally kept tightly shut, was slightly ajar, even though no mail had been delivered that day. These were small details, easy to dismiss if you wanted to, but deep down, Richard knew better. Something was wrong. Someone wasn't just passing by his home. They were interacting with it, testing the boundaries between outside and inside. And that's what makes this sign so emotionally devastating. When physical objects inside your private sphere are disturbed, it's not just an invasion of space, it's a psychological intrusion. Your home, the one place where you should feel most secure, no longer feels impenetrable. Your sense of safety begins to crack because someone else's curiosity, or worse, their obsession, has crossed into your reality. Subtle disruptions can speak volumes if you know how to read them. Mail that appears opened and poorly resealed, packages shifted from their usual drop-off spots, blinds slightly out of place, or windows not left how you remember. These are not coincidences, they are warning signs. Ignoring them only invites that invasive behavior to grow bolder. Security experts suggest using simple telltales, like a sliver of clear tape across your doorframe or a small piece of paper, placed delicately between the door and the jamb. If these are disturbed while you're away, you'll have your confirmation. Should you find evidence, document everything meticulously. Date-stamped photos, a private journal noting times, patterns, and your observations. This isn't paranoia, it's preparation. It's building a foundation of proof that can protect you if the situation escalates. The emotional weight of discovering these signs cannot be overstated. You begin questioning not just your neighbors' intentions, but the very fabric of trust within your community. Once the sanctuary of your home is breached, every creak, every misplaced item becomes a reminder of your vulnerability. From a Stoic perspective, there is one vital truth to hold on to. While you cannot prevent every external intrusion, you can control your internal response. As Epictetus taught, it is not events themselves that disturb us, but our interpretations of them. Recognizing the violation is necessary. Acting with calm, rational strength is how you reclaim your peace. Fortify your home, document your findings, and most importantly, protect the sanctuary of your mind. Physical evidence of surveillance is not just a possibility, it's a warning siren. It's proof that a line has already been crossed from casual curiosity into unhealthy fixation. Trust your instincts, secure your space, and never underestimate the value of a calm, protected state of mind. Sign 5. Their behavior escalates into obsession. The fifth and final sign that your neighbor isn't just nosy, but has crossed into something far more dangerous, is when curiosity mutates into obsession. Studies show that in over 70% of stalking cases, the victim knew the stalker personally and often ignored early warning signs, dismissing them as harmless interest or concern. These escalations rarely happen overnight. They creep in slowly, normalizing themselves inch by inch until the situation shifts from uncomfortable to dangerous. Take a moment to reflect on small interactions that have left you uneasy. The way a neighbor lingers too long in conversation, the oddly timed comments that seem to echo things you never actually said out loud. How many times have you talked yourself out of that discomfort just to avoid seeming paranoid or impolite? We all do it. We silence instincts that were never meant to be polite. They were meant to keep us safe. Consider the story of Karen, a woman living in a quiet suburban cul-de-sac. She thought nothing of the neighbor who always waved a little too eagerly when she left for work. Over time, he began asking about her job and referencing private details she didn't remember sharing. Then, after a phone call behind closed doors, in which she mentioned a weekend trip, she found a "have a great trip" note left under her doormat. No one else knew. At first, she told herself it was coincidence. It wasn't. Within weeks, the neighbor escalated to entering her backyard while she was away, claiming he was checking on the property. Karen's story isn't unusual. It's a textbook example of how small boundary violations spiral into obsession. Psychologically, this shift is chilling. You are no longer seen as a person, but as an object to monitor and control, a character in someone else's imagined narrative. When neighbors begin positioning themselves as protectors or confidants while subtly isolating you from others, it's not kindness, it's manipulation. From a Stoic perspective, your response must be immediate, calm, and rational. Marcus Aurelius taught that external threats do not define us, our actions do. In this case, documentation becomes your shield. Record everything: dates, times, conversations, patterns, even the smallest oddities. Build a timeline, not for emotional validation, but for protection. If escalation continues, you may need to pursue legal options. Restraining orders, cease and desist letters, and anti-stalking laws exist to protect you. Involve law enforcement early. Don't wait until things become dangerous. Isolation is the predator's tool. Connection is your weapon. Reach out to trusted friends and family. This isn't about confrontation. It's about protecting your safety, your mental well-being, and your right to live without fear. Obsession doesn't arrive with flashing lights. It tiptoes in, disguised, as politeness, concern, and coincidence. That's why recognizing the shift and acting early is crucial. Courage doesn't mean being fearless. It means acting to protect yourself despite fear. Your instincts are ancient, sharpened by generations of survival. Trust them, because once a neighbor crosses the line into obsession, your silence will not protect you, but your action can. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You're part of the 1% who can distinguish between a friendly neighbor and a full-time amateur spy. You now know the signs, the traps, and most importantly, how to protect your sanctuary before someone turns it into their personal TV show. Awareness isn't about fear. It's about locking your doors before the wolf even thinks about knocking. You deserve to live with the curtains open and peace in your heart, not second-guessing every rustle at the mailbox. So, trust your instincts. Protect your space. And if this message opened your eyes, don't stop here. Hit that subscribe button and join a community that refuses to live with one eye open. The next video the algorithm picked for you, it's not random. It's your next shield. Click it. Your future self and your future peace of mind will thank you.